here on YouTube. That was a sudden switch over from my poster to this face. I look like a ghost compared to that other photo. And also, now that my hair is long, I've noticed how big my forehead is. And I'm glad I've grown my hair long to cover that up. Father time has not escaped me whatsoever. It's great hang. Wednesdays, 9:00. I do this live on YouTube. I upload it later as a podcast now. It's available on Spotify. If that suits your fancy, you're driving in the car and whatnot. But if you're a YouTuber, you're sitting at home like most people are, hopefully you're live and in the chat. If not, you can always watch this after the fact. Had some pretty decent views on the last one, so I'm real happy with that. I got a great show planned out for you tonight. I'm just going to be hanging out, talking shit with my collaborator, co-producer, the man behind Dumb Industries, the one and only Epstein's son, Chris Gersbeck.
Hey.
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Hey. Good.
Good. That was quite the intro.
I know. Well, people are going to look at you and be like, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way this Fraggle Rock character is related to the world's most powerful pedophile.
Oh my God. Speaking of Fraggle Rock, they're bringing that back. I heard they're doing a reboot.
Oh, no shit. I never watched it. I watched maybe 2 episodes of my life. I wasn't real big on that one. I like the Muppet Show a lot because the Muppet have variety. You know, like Fraggle Rock seemed pretty one-dimensional. It's like, oh no, don't get our city eaten again. Or they seem like dicks, really. The Fraggles, like they ate the Dozers' cities and stuff.
Yeah, they're just kind of this weird, tiny little community that.
Is this supposed to be like a metaphor? I think it's a metaphor. That's where I disagree. I think they're hippies, and it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for hippies destabilizing industrialization and progress by eating away at the core elements. I could be wrong. I've never seen this shit. It just looked like one-dimensional Muppets, and I just was never into it. Yeah. Sorry, I should have been more positive off top. Been like, oh yeah, Fraggle Rock rules. How's your week? How you been?
Good. It's busy, but hanging in there. It's
Chris is busy working with his more famous collaborators, and rightfully so. They pay him way better. Chris is working with Frank Conniff, doing a show coming up next week.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Doing a lot of press for that. Chris sends me screenshots of all the famous people he talks to on Zoom chats, and I like look at it. I'm like, oh, I know all of those people.
I don't always do that. I do.
No, you don't. No, that would be a violation of privacy. I know. Come on, don't kick the legs out from underneath the comedy on this, Chris. Let people believe what they want, right? He only did it once, but it's one of many times he could be doing it. So, how's your Corona going? How's okay, cool.
It's it's still weird, and my wife went back to work, so that's been an adjustment. Just not having her around 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it's got to be a good feeling.
Well, it's I mean, it's a little bit of both. It also feels very weird to just be.
I mean, you're right. It's great
by myself.
I would love that so much right now. My wife is here all the time, and sometimes she leaves, and it's good. But most times she's around. It's like we could really use a break. So we decided to go on vacation together, which was
weird.
What is that? There's a little pop-up. I just put on that link.
I guess parent people can join the feed if they would like to. I didn't mean to show.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you let me know there's a possibility that people could show up, even though nobody has.
Yeah.
this entire time that we've been doing it. We have more people on Instagram, but I do like this format better.
Yeah.
And
And you can also, I just realized I can do stuff like this too.
and people have watched it after the fact as well, which I'm kind of excited about. So at least it's getting consumed in that fashion. You know what I mean?
Right. See, like I can comment as you. So let
Yeah.
me
Well, I mean, you could put out a fake statement, throw people
yeah.
off the scent if you were.
All right, let's
Instead,
see.
you put out a real thing.
It's a little more accurate now. Here we go.
That's true. I do. I'm capable of smelling. um, did you anticipate that we were going to reach the let's see if the free economy market can correct this health problem stage of Corona? Or did you think that at some point in time there was going to be some level of like government intervention?
I thought as bad as it gets, at some point someone's going to step in and say, well, do you see that video like when Bernie Sanders went crazy because it was like 3 months ago and they were trying to work out the unemployment benefits for like freelancers and wait staff and stuff, and he like fought to get like an extra $600 a week for them. I thought after that, I was like, people are just gonna keep stepping in and doing this because no one's gonna have any fucking rent money or a place to live if they don't. And that hasn't happened yet. So
Right. Yeah, I tweeted out, I was like, just like before the show started, that if we don't get a universal basic income for the American citizen and they get yet another corporate bailout, like you can expect a riot in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to be doing it. I'm not going to be the one out necessarily rioting. I'm not calling for that to happen. I'm just making a not even bold prediction. I think most people probably read that tweet and they're like, yeah, it's true. This is not a new take. Derek's not saying anything we give a fuck about. This is true. Have you reached the stage of Corona where you have a cool COVID mask? You know, like a designer?
I mean, my wife's I want to say aunt, but she's not really her aunt. She made these fabric ones for us that are really cool.
Yeah.
But then my wife's job just gave her a bunch of these, like they're like the K95 ones.
N95 ones. Oh man.
See,
those are good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're showing off your math capabilities, man. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Well, she gave me, we got a whole stack of them here. So
I just use fishing net myself. That'll catch it.
Florida mask.
Yeah. Well, so somebody sent me. I walk around this. I think it's unfortunate that we've gotten to the stage of COVID where you see somebody go, "Oh, cool mask," right? Like, I thought that we would like maybe be done with it enough that we could have just worn medical masks. And then when the medical, okay, we wear masks for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, everybody's fine again. You know what I mean? But people are just like, well, we're not going to wear masks for even 2 weeks. And what they also don't realize is them not wearing masks just keeps making the timeline longer.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you would have just like done this earlier. But listen, I'm not going to go into the merits of that sort of thing. I think there's enough. There's enough data out there that you can form your own opinion, that you can probably guess like what mine might be. And that's not the interesting part of it to me. The interesting part is that somebody sent me a Bane mask from The Dark Knight Rises, you know, because Bane in The Dark Knight Rises has that mask on it. And honestly, they didn't send it to me physically. They sent me one like, hey, I know how much you like Batman. Look at this mask. Isn't it cool? And honestly, at first I went, cool, Bane. Oh, man, I'm going to put this on my face and then I'll look like Bane because I'm a big dude or whatever. And I'm clearly not going to, I'm going to look like if Bane retired, you know? So I'm not going to,
you'd be a good Bane for Halloween or something. Have you done that?
If I worked out really hard, I mean, I'm working out now, but I'm still fat. I'm just mainly working out for my health, not for my aesthetics
Mhm.
necessarily. And if I really kind of did that, I guess I could probably maybe pull it off. I would have to just lift a bunch of weights versus I do a lot of like calisthenics and cardio stuff so that I can get my heart rate
Yeah.
going better and everything. I don't have access to like weights. So, but I appreciate the
And did they
compliment nonetheless. But
did they ever explain why Bane wears the mask in that movie? I honestly don't remember.
yes.
I've seen it like 10 times.
Yes. All right, guys. We're going to talk about 2012's culturally relevant Dark Knight Rises. Bane wore that mask because he was in so much continual pain from
But from what?
being accosted. I'm telling you, from being accosted, and he was hurt by that doctor and that surgeon and the jail, and then he was fucked up by all the dudes in the jail. They beat him like, to a pulp or whatever, or and he was just in pain, right? And so that mask fed him like a constant sort of morphine or IV sort of drip that would make him not feel anything, emotionless sort of thing. And in the comic books, Bane actually took a serum called Venom. It was analogous. It was right around the time of when people were taking steroids in football, wrestling, and baseball. And it was just really like a prominent analogous storyline of like Bane was born in a prison in the comics and like a South American Argentinian prison or something like that.
Brazilian, I think.
Yeah, he was Brazilian. And he just ended up taking over the prison from the inside by being a brutally violent criminal who then started hooking up this thing where he had a serum that would augment him. So he was already like Batman's formidable foe, but then it's like we're going to put him on Venom, which is like this hyper steroid, and he broke Batman's back in the comic book, which they paid homage to and they did in the movie. But Bane's origin, not to the degree that
they did get that. They got that sweet shot where he like lifts him and cracks him over his
right. That whole fight scene in and of itself is really good. But Bane, the way they use Bane in the movie, I used to really like Bane, but then I thought about Bane for a minute in that movie and what he kind of represents, because he is his character is most like, I forget how to pronounce his name, Robespierre from A Tale of Two Cities, who is highlighting how incredibly corrupt like the government is, which is true. It's actually, I think it's analogous for right now. It's like you guys are actually bourgeois rich people and your only benefit to life is by keeping us down and being shitty to us, lying to us economically, systemically, through the prison system and everything, through laws. And you get out of laws with your money. You don't have to follow the same rules as everybody else. It's just two different worlds for the most part between people like that. And I understand being rich is its own responsibility. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be rich people. In fact, I know I should never be one and I never will. However, there shouldn't be we shouldn't have third world level poverty in America. Like that's not a good service for America at all. America doesn't stand to benefit whatsoever, right? So anyway, so Bane represents that character, and I mean his speech outside Blackgate Court, right, or Blackgate Prison, where he's exposing Harvey Dent, right? So in this world, in this movie, Harvey Dent was ended up turning into a bad guy. He killed some people. Batman took the fall for it so that the city could believe that Harvey Dent died a hero, right? When in fact, he wasn't a hero at all. He was actually the cause of some bad shit. So they passed all these laws, right? Which is, I think, kind of analogous for Joe Biden is Harvey Dent, right? Like Joe Biden is like this good looking guy who founded all these laws on a lie and class warfare, and then imprisoned a bunch of black people, and then is like, I'm your champion. That's Joe Biden's impression to me in all of this. So Bane's speech outside the Blackgate prison, where he's saying like the police commissioner lied to you, The district attorney lied to you. The mayor lied to you. All these people lied to you. They imprisoned your fellow citizens on bad, erroneous evidence and a false platitude, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm here to liberate you. His speech is basically a Black Lives Matter protest slogan outside of a prison. You can tell because it's said by a white person, right? And so they only ever let white people like do this kind of like speech and whatnot, attack a prison. You can't get away with that if you're black. And
Well, he had all the cops trapped underground or something.
he had all the cops trapped underground and whatnot.
Every cop.
You know, he defunded the police, right? And Bane's like the leader of Antifa, right? Bane, he's an incel in this movie. He's not a dude. He was in prison his whole life, and then, you know, his only friend was a little girl. I mean, that's gross as shit. And when he got out, nobody's having sex with this dude. You know what I mean? And he probably doesn't even care about it. He probably can't even feel it because he's got that pain receptor on his face. He's analogous for steroids in that way because I bet his dick can't get hard, right? So, yeah, he's just like this warped kind of version of the character. And it's like, and the mob takes over the city, right? Catwoman, Anne Hathaway, in her best role ever. It's the best movie I've ever seen. It's the best acting I've ever seen. She won an Oscar for something, and it should have been this, right?
Nah, it's not very good. Hold on.
What?
Can we watch one scene?
If you don't play. Oh, yeah. That part's not good. No, I know.
I know. I just want to, because it hurts the movie overall. I'm just gonna take us both off so we can just watch this.
My father.
See, listen. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I get it. All right, yeah, you could pause this one. I get it, right? Let me explain who this person is in the movie. This person is who Bane is doing everything for. It's Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert to this 8-year-old movie, right? But she's come back to take on Gotham and blow it up because that's what her dad was going to do, right? So Bane loves this woman or whatever. He's got this like huge debt to her because she showed him and when she was a little girl in prison beauty, innocence or whatever it was. And so like Bane became infatuated with that and then would follow her around to do all this sort of shit. And it's like Bane's an incel, right? Like Bane.
That's what I hate about the movie is that Bane in the end is like nothing. He's just like another chess piece there. So
he got friend zoned. He got friend zoned by Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and then Batman cucked him because Batman slept with the chick, right? And that's what makes Batman the greatest hero because he's still cucking dudes too, while also saving the city under impossible means. He's also cucking Bane on top of it, right? And you see the mob takes over the city, and Anne Hathaway, who played Catwoman, she at first really wanted the mob to take over, right? But then when she saw what was really happening, she was like, oh, wait a minute. Turns out I didn't really want this, right? And she's like she is a metaphor for the comedy blogger of today who is calling for all the sweeping change and reform. And then they're like, oh, wait, it's making comedy suck. I actually don't like this now.
It's an interesting take.
It's either this or Bane was on Epstein's flight logs, like one or the other. There's something going on there where it was like.
Well, Bane definitely would be because his best friend's that little girl in the tunnel.
Yeah, it's just weird. It was weird. I've had too much time to think about this stuff. Out of the 3 movies, Batman Begins, which I saw twice in the theater, The Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises is the only one I own a copy of.
Why?
Well, they stream all the time now because Dark Knight Rises is the only one that doesn't stream. It's the Godfather 3 of superhero movies.
Why doesn't it?
where
Because people don't like it.
I think because that and the Aurora shooting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which I don't ever think about until somebody tells me that that's why they don't stream it, or that's what they like is synonymous with
Yeah.
the
So
third
instead,
Batman movie.
they made an entire movie focusing on the Joker, which is basically like the same exact thing that happened in Aurora, just some fucking crazy person.
Oh yeah, basically. But see, here's the thing though: after Joker came out, that version, nobody did anything. Like there was no uptick in crime. That's how good an actor Joaquin Phoenix was, because they're like, we can't pull this off. I'm a normal person. I can't do what he did, so I'm not going to try. Nick Mullen has this great joke about. I don't think he does stand up anymore, so I can just say it. I mean, he doesn't need to. He's great, but he has this great bit about that guy, the Aurora shooter. He went dressed as the Joker, and he was like, you knew which Joker it was going to be, the Heath Ledger one. Nobody ever goes to shoot up a school or anything dressed up like the Jack Nicholson Joker. You know, like, hey.
That's good.
It's that whole like that Joker was the whole Basketball Diaries aesthetic of Jokers, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's what Heath Ledger modeled it on. It's like trying to be like a punk,
and the
basically.
Crow,
like a Crow. What's his name? Alex from Clockwork Orange. I think he said he took a lot of inspiration from.
I've never seen Clockwork Orange.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that's one of those movies.
We can see how big a delay there is in my reaction to you never seeing Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, it's a good thing there's nobody in the chat, right? Yeah. So anyway, so that was all inspired by getting a Bane mask recommendation, because it just is sad to me that we are at the stage of Corona where you could be like, yeah, I want a cool looking mask. This is part of my dress. It's like I want a Louis Vuitton mask. I bought my wife for her birthday. I bought her like a really nice present, right, from this company. It was it was like a travel bag or something like that. And they advertised to me high-end mask coverings. Like, why did we let it get this bad? No. I have a handkerchief. I have an American flag handkerchief. I will wear that over my face like a true American every fucking day.
You're not the kind of guy that can walk around wearing an American flag without people making some assumptions about your political affiliations.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, really, I don't. I usually wear it as a bandana when we go hiking, because if it's not covering the face and it doesn't, that's not a threatening thing. This is more just like, hey, I'm your everyday patriot. I'm not. It's like I said on the previous show. Is it the previous show or the show before that? My friend and I were standing in Brooklyn, over in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and I forgot I had an American flag mask. Now it was black and green, right? It wasn't like traditional looking, but it was American flag. I had it as a handkerchief over my face. And my buddy, he was visiting from the South. He had an American flag shirt on, and we were just talking about how like people are poor and that's why everybody's divided. And some young lady yelled out the window at us. They go, hey, they go, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And we looked around and they're like, oh, they're talking to us. Like, yeah, they do. Right on. We like did the whole fist wave and everything. It's like, we don't disagree with you at all. Yeah. Just because whatever. Hey, cool. Good on you. Hey, I like America. I like Black Lives Matter. It's weird that people make you want to take sides. But totally. we've gone over this before for sure. Yeah. So anyway, so I just use handkerchiefs like a poor piece of shit. I don't want to go get some Kim Kardashian face covering. That makes me mad.
I've never carried around a handkerchief before. I've never been like a handkerchief guy, but maybe I should because I sweat so much, like just for that.
I started to in New York. Because when I lived in South Carolina, I had a car. So I would just, if I was really sweaty and hot, just turn on the air conditioning and use it as a hair dryer. You know what I mean? Or just roll the windows all the way down and dry my hair out that way. In New York, like I can't. I gotta. I'm actually growing mine so long that sometimes it, like, if it's still wet and I just fuck with it, it looks good for being wet. So, because I've gotten a lot of compliments on the hair and everything. I don't think I'm going to get it. Not for at least another month. And even then, I'm not going to cut the top. I'm just going to cut the sides. I'm going to let the beard grow for another. The beard looks bad because I only have one. Yeah, I'm going to get dreadlocks. Because I want to join that band from that show we watched last week that did the CIA raps for Reefer.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Puff, puff, give.
Anyway, so you're married. Yeah, puff, puff, give. You're married.
Mm-hmm.
I said it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long you guys been married now?
We just celebrated 6 years, but we've been together for almost 15 years.
So. Okay, cool. My wife and I have been together 4 years, but it feels like forever.
Well, you've been married 4 years, or you've been together 4 years?
It'll be 4 years. No, we've been together. For her, November, it'll be 7 years together, and for me in February, it'll be 7 years. We've been together. She gets so mad when I tell that joke. We started dating in November of like 2013, but then we didn't date for a while. In the middle, we were on, and then we started dating again February of 2013. That's when everything really officially kicked off for me. I actually broke up with her. I broke up with her the first time because I knew we were going to get married, and that kind of scared the shit out of me. So I wanted to.
That's a pretty good strategy, actually. It's like,
well,
I get too committed to this now, and then just. Sorry.
No, it was more. No, it was just more for me. It was just more not wanting to take responsibility, and I really like. I actually tried to be in relationships when I lived in South Carolina, but it never panned out for me because I'm a piece of shit, and I was going to move up to New York and just keep kind of dating around, and I didn't really want a commitment or anything, but I knew from our first date with my wife that she was really into me, and I was into her too, because like she, at this point in time had like gotten to know the real me, like a me outside of what other people had told her about me, or she had seen my comedy, so she had seen that I had like a talent, right? Yeah. Whereas like some of the other women that I knew, I met a lot of them through work, and the women I met through comedy, I didn't really want to date. I always treated that more like a job, and but every now and again go, hook up with some bar matron.
Yeah, I've never had, like, my entire time in comedy, I've been, pretty much my entire adult life I've been with Jen, but I've never, like, getting into comedy after getting married made it so that was like never even like, so many comedians are like, don't ever date other comedians, and like that was just never even a thought that crossed my mind. So
it's not even like other comedians, it's just I don't even want to, like, I appreciate the exposure that social media, the internet has given like reality. We used to live behind a lot of thin thin insulated walls in society that were either the product of, like good manners or, politeness. You just don't talk about this or that or the other. And nowadays everything's like pretty much out in the open. And I kind of appreciate that. I respect what it is because it's shown a lot of things to be fraudulent. It's a lot of misconceptions or things that we don't, we took for granted before. It's shown them as being not as important, or some things were more important than we thought, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, I would appreciate doing away with it entirely and having walls up between performer and like artist and fan. Yeah. I really don't like, I'm a man of the people, right? And I'm a man of the people if you don't know me, if like I can relate to you and to your struggle or whatever. But when it starts to be like, people start to like you for a perception of you than what you really are. And, there's this like kind of there's a thing nowadays where people feel like they're more entitled to you and your information than you really want them to be.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that's almost like kind of contingent. We were talking earlier, you and I, about, another comedian that we know who's like pretty famous, who, was just recently talking on social media about really not needing to having the desire for publicity. Yeah. And things like that. You know what I mean? And whereas me, I'm still like begging for that. Like this person's turning down opportunities that I would love to have. And I understand that's like the name of the game. I'm not in a position to be able to do that. But like this thing where once you become famous, it's like it seems like you have to put your whole life out there on Front Street just to keep people engaged and interested. You know, which is what Will Smith had to do this week.
What I don't really care about any of that stuff, and I haven't been following it. But like, what could you just give me like the gist of it in 20 seconds?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, I will, but it's gonna take longer than 20 seconds. I wouldn't have given. Oh well, okay. Jada Pinkett and Will Smith separated for a while a few years ago, and she dated somebody else, this young singer, and then that person came out recently in the press and talked about it and talked about how like he still loves her or whatever. Oh wow. And so her and Will Smith, she has this show on Facebook called Red Table Talk where she's always like, I got to bring some healing to the red table, and they talk about their issues or whatever. And so she had to bring her husband on Will Smith. Right. Which I love Will Smith. I've loved Will Smith since I was a kid. He's one of my favorite just kind of personalities. Yeah. I wouldn't say he's
charming as fuck. You can't.
He's very charming. When I was a kid, I used to watch Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff in the early 90s used to have a 1-800 phone number that you could call, right? And listen to pre-recorded messages from Fresh Prince. It's like, now pick up your phone and listen to this and whatever. And so I would always watch these commercials and everything, and I would want to call. I'd have to stay at my grandma's house on the weekend, so like my mom could have some free time, and like my dad wasn't around, so like my grandma would take care of me sometimes on the weekend. And my uncle, who was out of prison, he lived in my grandma's house, right? And I'd be downstairs in the basement watching Will Smith rap videos and stuff like that, and bobbing my little white head. And my uncle would come downstairs and he'd look at the TV and he'd like look at me and he'd go like, he's like, "What are you watching this crap for? This rap is like garbage. These people are garbage or whatever." And I would get like offended. I'd be like, "Will Smith telling me to stay in school and invest in Microsoft. You're upstairs dying of heroin. Who are you to judge this man based on anything at all? Like, fuck off." Yeah. And my uncle died of heroin. Yeah. So, and Will Smith is rich. It just has to talk about his fucking marriage on Facebook for people for some reason. Like, that's the ultimate Facebook status, is having to go on a show with your wife and talk about your marriage for everybody to hear. Because it's part of like a press thing.
Was there like a scandal or something, or like why?
Well, here's the thing: is this kid comes out on in the media and says that he's still in love with her and Will Smith gave him permission to date her and stuff. So then it makes it look like they have an open marriage, which I had always heard about that. It looks like they're divorced or that, you know, like whatever. It's just like, like if people had to, okay, I'll give you a prime example, right? You and I have a friend who one time questioned the validity of my relationship with my wife because I was out all the time doing comedy, right? And was hanging around this person plus another person like pretty frequently. And they openly questioned, they're just like, what's the deal with that? Like, Derek, does he not even love his wife or what's going on? You know, sort of thing. And it's like, you don't know how our fucking marriage operates. So it's none of your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm not hitting on you, then, you know, and even and then if I tell you like, hey, my wife's cool with this, and you're dumb enough to believe that, that's on you. If you don't have any fucking standards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like I feel the need. I had to tell this person like I don't cheat on my wife. I'm never cheated on my wife. And you know,
I've gotten that
shut up
too. Because like when you do a lot of comedy, you end up hanging out with a lot of the same people, and sometimes they're of the opposite sex. But like I've in public, like on Facebook comments, like people like questioning that too, like saying like, oh, you two should just fuck already. It's like, that's a really weird thing to say to someone.
Yeah, if you say it with me and like another dude, I would think it was funny, but it's like you pretty much well, that's the good thing for me is I'm never that nice on Facebook, so nobody's ever going to be like, oh, this is a real fun interaction where we want to encourage Derek to do that. So they had to go on Facebook and talk about this for everybody to hear, and and I wouldn't have watched it, okay? However, my wife says to me, hey, I watched it and I want you to watch it and I want your opinions on it. And I was like not going to watch it, but then I was like, okay, well, this can be some bullshit I can talk about on my show. I'll definitely watch this now. And her rationale, honestly, and also to be respectful to my wife, she wanted me to watch it for a specific reason because she is, as we've gotten older and we talk to other married couples and see how other marriages work, your perception of marriage before you get involved in it is much different than when you're in it.
Yeah. And
I remember my friend back in Charleston when I was a single guy, I was dating around a lot and stuff like that. And I was a lot more like chivalrous and romantic or whatever. And she told me the story about like her and her husband having like a kind of a fight in front of these people, not like a full blown fist fight, but like, hey, fuck you or fuck off, like in a joking way, kind of fight in front of these people. And I was like, I'll never talk to my wife that way, you know, and we'll never have those kind of disagreements. And this is the way life's going to be, just like this or whatever, especially marriage. Because like I'm Catholic and I take it so seriously. And, you know, I love my mom and I would never want my mom disrespected and whatever. Now that I'm married, we're just like, yeah, fuck you, you know. She gets mad, I get mad. I mean, we don't ever get to, it doesn't ever like turn into some like assault or anything or like anything. We're like, yeah, where we're just like at each other's throats, but it's more just kind of like quit being a dick or quit complaining or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that like I will never have an open marriage. There will never be another person involved in this marriage. I've never ever seen that lead to anybody having like a good. I take that back. I mean, I've seen people recover from in their marriages from somebody having like an extramarital affair or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as like being like, hey, we're going to welcome other people into this relationship and we're going to let them like have a say or develop feelings for this person. There's not enough person to pass around in a marriage.
Yeah.
You know, it's you and the other person. And if you don't want to be a
It
part of
never
that or
ends
whatever,
well.
that's it just never ends well. And if you want to try it, I'm not one to stop you. I don't think you should get tax benefits for it because statistically it's shown to fuck up. It's just, you know, like, sorry.
Are there statistics on
patriarchy.
that?
Yeah. I mean, really honestly, like, I mean, there are certain reasons why marriage rates are as bad as what they are is because it got to be, I mean, so for one example though, it was better because women were able to leave marriages and whatnot. But like my wife sometimes when we were, you know, early on in like being engaged or whatever, she would make a joke about like divorce or something like that. And I was like, oh no, we're not getting a divorce. Like there's no like, I mean, things have got to be the worst they've ever been. I got to be strung out on heroin or something or financially ruinous.
Yeah.
Something where I'm not giving you the reason to divorce me. Oh, let's just put it that way. Like I've seen too many, like I've lived through too many being a part of bad marriages. You know, my parents were a bad marriage. My biological father, my mother.
I've said that too. I mean, especially since we're not ever having kids, but I'm like very adamantly like, even if we're like really not getting along, I mean, like we're not getting a divorce, so we're gonna have to work through this. It's like not an option.
Yeah. And I mean, I have enough money to leave. It's not a thing like that's the thing that we kind of explain to people who question how we operate and everything. It's like, I could leave at any time. I have money to leave. I have, opportunity to live a completely separate life or whatever. I choose to stay. Marriage is a lot of hard work, and it's not something. And Will and Smith and his wife talk about that in this thing, and they're like, yeah, she's like, I had an entanglement, which was like the buzzword on the internet for the last week or whatever. But it's really just, she started fucking this other dude. This other dude developed feelings, and then she had to kick him to the curb. And it's tough to do that to somebody you care about or whatever. But it's like, hey, man, I'm with Will Smith. He's the father of my kids, and we work through it. And I'm not. And here's the thing: as I take marriage so seriously, though, in kind of my views of it, it's not my job to judge their marriage. I mean, I suppose you could say that if I was as a comedian, if I can make a joke about it, but like as a person, I don't give a shit. Being in a marriage like allows you to do that and to have that kind of understanding,
Yeah, totally.
And it's just weird that people have to put that sort of shit out for people nowadays.
Yeah. It's
like to make a statement.
It's odd that you would like that they even feel obligated to have to do that. Like that's what kind of blew my mind when I started seeing the tweets about it. I'm like, well, wait, what's like why do we have to know this? Like why is this not just like a tabloid rumor or something, which is what it usually is.
Well, that's the whole thing, is like the news cycle is just tabloid. It's all tabloid now, and that's why there's so much distrust. Is because like that thing trends on Twitter, more than like Russian bounty gate does. You know what I mean? And it's that's what I'm talking about. Like that's what I don't like about social media, is because you have this like kind of mob rule over stuff, and it's not that I'm taking the side of the elitists, but it's hard to argue for power to the people when the people are being such dumb pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And so wear a mask. Oh man.
Here's a good mask.
Anyway. See, now this Bane was more true to form.
Wait.
Than
I don't know how to hold on.
You're the worst. You should just show a picture of him.
I can't see anything now. Oh, now I see myself. I don't see you. All right, there you are.
Now you see me. Right. Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
Technical difficulty on Great Hang for those of you watching, if you've made it this far still. Or you're listening on Spotify. I'm happy I got that on Spotify now. Hopefully my cousins in Ohio download Spotify. There's a whole bunch of work. I'm so out of sorts with out of my routine of doing like the business of comedy that I have nothing like working properly. And that between moving and, you know, stuff I have going in my day-to-day like life to generate an income in this fucking pandemic, I'm just like busy. I'm busier than I have been in a long time, ironically.
Oh, same. I don't think I've ever been busier, honestly.
I mean, that's good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for me in a sense. I wrote some sketches. I've got me and Wilfred Padua. I'm really dragging the ball and are working on something together. So like I'm excited. I'm still working. It's not as if I'm not like making attempts or whatever. I started putting out stand-up clips because like I don't have any stand-up to do. It's like I might as well just keep reminding people that I'm okay at stand-up.
Those have been really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you guys actually watch this YouTube channel, check out my Instagram. I post some stuff on there. I'm at Derek Humphrey. And I'll tell you, and, you know, another reason social media should just be fucking banned forever is because I'm on it. And I don't think any platform that lets me tweet at people without discrimination should be warranted. At the beginning of Corona, back in April, I think it wasn't even the beginning, but it was like early April or whatever, around when this shit was just like, you know, in the early stages. Back when, you know, we didn't have designer masks. I got into a Twitter discussion with Emily Ratajkowski. She's a supermodel from
I didn't know this when it happened, but you told me about it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Emily Ratajkowski, I don't know if you want to pull up a picture of her, Chris. She is a supermodel. I'm sure more people are familiar with her than me. If they know me, they probably know who Emily Ratajkowski is. She was in a great movie, Gone Girl. I didn't know it was her that was in it. And she's very, very pretty and whatnot. But she's not necessarily my thing. And I know it sounds really pretentious. You're like, hey, Derek, you're a 41-year-old fat white guy. I think you probably should take whatever is thrown your fucking way if you're single. You know what I mean? But like, I actually don't find her to be that attractive. She looks very waifish. You pick one image. She looks. Here's the thing about her. Can you pick one image and just show it? Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
That's not her. The one up at the top up there with their armpit is her for sure, and the one next to it. Yeah. Can you blow just that one up instead of? I can see both fields in your. I can see the grid and her.
Oh yeah. No, I know. I'm trying.
I can see the photo collage grid.
It's taking a while to load.
Oh, okay. So Emily Ratajkowski is attractive, but she's the kind of attractive that like she's hot, but like it's just the kind of hot you just want to drown. Like it's just not like it's weird. It's a weird sort of thing. It's like she has this perpetual fucking attitude on her face, and she looks like a deer, and it's more that her face is symmetrical and her body is waif-like than it is that she's like I'll take a healthy woman any day over some stick figure lady. Now listen, this isn't to denigrate her as a person or anything. That's just, and shouldn't give a fuck what I think or like. Nobody really should, but whatever. But I'm not engaging with this person because I find her attractive. She put out this thing like, oh, everybody must think I'm dumb because I'm hot. Right. And somebody pointed out to her, it's like, you actually don't seem like you're that dumb or anything like that, but you hang out with the fat Jew, and the fat Jew is a thieving piece of shit. And then she writes back like, oh, you know, the fat Jew is, he's like the smartest, most funniest person I know. And you're just mad because you're not successful or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you dumbass.
I can't believe he's
like,
even
he
still
stole
a
everybody's
thing.
content. Right. And yeah, he was in Uncut Gems. It was the only disappointing part of Uncut Gems. Was seeing his stupid ass in it. Right. But whatever. I don't really hate him or nothing like that. Like, I don't really care enough so much. It's just more that I just don't want to see somebody defend him. When I saw him, like, there was a comic that is really funny. I think he went to go work for BuzzFeed for a long time. Ben Rosen, super funny guy. And part of the reason he kind of stopped doing stand-up is because he just got a mainstream job, like working for BuzzFeed and doing all this writing. He's very funny, but he saw like the shitty nature of stand-up comedy where you're just tell a joke and any person can listen to that joke and then go tell that joke to another audience and say it was theirs. And if they're in front of the right audience, that's their joke now, right? Unless you go up and confront this person.
Yeah.
And which, that's the only recourse that you're allowed. Being a comic is like being a pirate. You can't go to the police about something that you're doing. It's stupid and probably illegal. But anyways, so she starts defending him or whatever. And then she's just like, well, listen, like my image was used without my consent and all that sort of shit. And it's like, you were compensated for that picture that they took of you. Like they took your L'Oreal
he's just
photo.
Stealing shit that you wrote for free.
Right. Yeah. You worked out for those abs. Like you're getting paid to be hot. Right. So fuck you. I'm not getting paid for the stuff that I wrote. This guy's getting paid for it. He didn't steal your fucking lip gloss. And then all of a sudden he's rich. And then you're like, wait a minute, you used my lip gloss. Like, come on.
What's his rationale though for just stealing shit? Like, does he actually create any of his own content?
He creates his own, like he created a rosé and he creates, I mean, I think he does create some stuff, but the thing was though, is he works so primarily as, I think he would have been like somewhat relevant regardless. Like, I don't want to sit there and completely say that the guy I don't know him well enough. I just know him from the whole comics thing of like him stealing comics jokes that I know, like people that I know who are great joke writers. They, actively were stolen from. So I don't follow him outside of that. I've read some stuff about him, but he just he's an influencer who is probably funny. I'm sure he's probably like funny to talk to if you don't know him outside of this context, but like he's also a thieving piece of shit. And so whatever, he's hanging out with.
I did.
Ooh,
I didn't know.
Wow,
that.
Really? Oh, I didn't know he was poor.
We were there at the same time. I think he's a couple of years older.
Oh no shit.
But I have.
Did you piss the bed
friends
camp?
who knew him back then? No.
Oh, okay, I did. Was he a piece of shit? and was he a piece of shit? This delay is too
weird because like we can't.
I know. I'm doing that on purpose.
Apparently, he was like kind of just like a teenager.
I fucking fuck him. I mean, really, honestly, fuck him. I don't really care. Fuck him. I don't care. But he's hanging out in high rises with a supermodel for whatever value that is to his life. I'm sure he's single. I'm sure he's like getting some instead of getting 10s, he's getting 8.5s. From hanging out with this chick or whatever. So he doesn't give a shit. I think he gave a shit after he got called out. And so, but then she was like saying that, I said one, that I'm an old white man, so therefore my opinion doesn't count. Right. And then, because I said she doesn't have any talent at what she does, she's like, oh, you wouldn't know, sort of thing. And then, she said, I said that her image was being used as revenge porn for whatever reason. And she likened that to me criticizing her support of joke stealing. And I'm like, you're taking a long fucking walk, lady. If you think that it makes no sense. Right. And then all these women in comedy started chiming in, like Eliza Skinner and Meg Wright. I got that girl from Vulture, and she's like, wow, there's a lot of women who were involved in this too, who are calling you out for joke stealing. Why don't you recognize what these women are saying? You're only replying to the white man because it's like we're the punching bag. So of course we're gonna get the we're the easy target right now. Which fine, I don't care. I'll take it. I defended myself quite well, in fact. So go ahead and go for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the only time anybody from Vulture has paid attention to me. Is when I did that, and I have friends who work at Vulture. So
same.
Yeah, but and here's the thing too is like
gatekeepers over there.
I mean, there's no more gates to be capped anymore. The only gates people are concerned with now are all the rich liberals in Beverly Hills and Westchester and shit who don't want the fucking Black Lives Matter protests spilling over to their cobbled driveways, having to actually answer for their fucking accountability in this whole mess. So I'm fired up about this. I mean, really, honestly. But so here's the thing is that I put this podcast out on my old podcast feed, and I had a really good podcast before. And part of the problem with it was my old podcast, Derek Mansplains It All. I talked to somebody who wasn't a straight white male. And the problem with it was I think that I'm not conservative enough. I wouldn't say conservative. I'm not right wing enough. I'm not like alt-righty, confrontational. I'm like, I was earnestly trying to listen. And here's the thing is I often agreed a lot of times with my guests, but fighting makes for better content, But it's like Vulture
no one wants to hear anyone get along.
Right. Vulture almost like basically kind of puts out like a hallmark of like, we have to do this. We have to cover two forms of comedy, the wokest shit imaginable and Saturday Night Live. Those are our bread and butter of showing like one corporate thing to death and then talking about how great they are still. And then this other unlistenable garbage that people do in the back of fucking coffee shops in the middle of nowhere, Brooklyn. And those are our two lanes, and we're not traveling outside that highway at all, which is fine. But like, what's going to end up happening is like people like me are going to end up being ignored for a long time by this sort of shit, and more people are going to start to gravitate towards my point of view about things, and they're going to start looking for alternatives to, what the kind of cultural zeitgeist is right now, and that's what it is. It's we're in so much of like a Lilith Fair stage of comedy that people are kind of looking for a little tough crowd, now again, back days, or like at least people who aren't like who aren't going to just roll over constantly and bow down to mob pressure.
It has kind of like the ideologies have switched a bit in that regard to like censorship and stuff. It's weird. It's weird how I feel like I have to defend someone for saying an opinion that I don't agree with because I know that that's like what you have to do. Like that's, you have to protect each other from that kind of thing.
Thank you for supporting me.
It's like,
I mean, really, honestly, if most of the people who listen to your other podcasts were to like listen and watch this, they'd be like, what's Chris doing? Why is he he's such a nice guy? Why is he a part of this fucking maniacs show? I'm not a bad guy by any stretch of imagination. I'm the type of, I'll give you the shirt off my back if I can. I love my friends very much who are all very like super progressive people and everything. Like I would say I'm a moderate.
What I'm seeing more and more is people who like I don't even agree with, but watching them getting called out just for expressing their opinion. It's like, what the
right.
You're
it's
supposed to be
bonkers,
allowed to
right?
Discuss these things. Yeah.
I'm a moderate in New York City, so like to my conservative friends and followers and whatnot, I'm a liberal, and to liberals I'm a Nazi, because I don't like go with the Antifa manifest for breakfast every day. It's like, well, you're a fucking piece of shit for not thinking that you should dismantle your family. You're like, what do you, what?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how And really, honestly, the 2/3 of people who are going to end up voting in the middle of the country, they feel more like me than they feel like Brooklyn does.
Oh yeah,
I'm honestly, yeah. And I'm glad there's a far left. I'm glad there's a lot of unfunny socialist comics to make a lot of points that they're making nowadays and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because like I agree in heart and spirit, like things are super screwed up, but there's a set of person who's like, man, the government's corrupt and the government's fucked up. Let's give them all our money and let them decide how it should be spent. You're like, what? That's the antithesis to like those. That's a two contradictory statements within one mission statement, you dumbass. It's just like bananas. Really, or like Trump sucks.
Thought about that from the like taking a step back and thinking of it that way. It's pretty interesting.
Well, it's just true, and that's why I talk about a lot with in interpersonal. One of the last times I was on the road, I was doing a brewery. I was headlining a brewery show in Hagerstown, Maryland, and I don't drink, so I just had some Coca-Colas and I smoked some weed after the show and everything. I was with Will Abels, good buddy Will Abels. He put together the show. He featured, I think he hosted, and then they had like a couple of features and whatnot, and then me. And after the show, we hung out with Will's friends who were all like these young, upperly mobile, like DC people who owned homes and everything like that. We ended up at a party. We ended up at two parties. We went to like some guy's house for like after beers and whatnot. And then we ended up at a party. And at both instances, you could just find me in a corner talking to people like, you guys got to Google Andrew Yang. Right? You guys, I'm telling you, like, we're not getting paid for our data. We're not, I've been purple pilled, I guess is the term for it. Yeah. I have another term for it. My wife's said I'm not allowed to say it. But where I just kind of like, I look like she's an ardent socialist. She's like, and I understand the sentiment behind like we should make an investment in the infrastructure of America. You know what I mean? But the infrastructure of America, for the most part, is its people, and people should have the most amount of capital that they can. But people are always so fucking stupid. You talk about taxing. We need to tax the fuck out of Facebook, right? We need to levy a $60 billion Facebook tax immediately and just disperse it amongst the people who all have Facebook Messenger on their fucking phone, right? And so, and people get all mad. They're like, no, you can't tax Facebook. Blah. And you're like, no, dumb shit. It's not, you're not supposed to have taxes. It's not supposed to tax the individual person. Tax the fuck out of a corporation. Fuck Mark Zuckerberg. He's not curing cancer with that money. You know what I mean? And he's like, and he has enough wealth that he could, him, Bezos, all these asshats could just like wipe away poverty for at least 6 months for people and save an entire generation. But they're little dick fucking losers. And all they want to do is hold on to it. Blah. And people who always like have money, they're always like, you don't understand how money works. I'm like, yes, I do. I do understand it. It's you need to be like really shitty to keep this shitty system going. But if you don't start being generous, people are gonna take the system away from us, right? We have to make the system work for us, or else more and more people are gonna start to ingest this Marxist bullshit and try and implement it into our way of government. And it's just, it drives me fucking crazy. So vote Joe Biden.
I can tell.
that 80-year-old gob of fucking nothing is going to get things done, isn't he? The only reason I would consider voting for Joe Biden is as a Trojan horse for Andrew Yang to get into the White House, into the cabinet. And
he's going to get in the cabinet, I bet you. I don't think
if not the mayor of New York City, he would win mayor of New York City so easily, I think.
Did you watch Ronnie Chang's special on Netflix?
No, I don't watch comedy.
It's really good. You should.
Just kidding. I watch Henry Rollins' Showtime special. Ronnie Chang is pretty funny. I don't like some of his openers, but I should watch that one. Eddie Pepitone. I should watch the Eddie Pepitone one according.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. Louis C.K. has one out that I actually want to watch. I know I'm not like supposed to, but I think like he put it out. I'm gonna watch it. I'm not like gonna whatever.
Yeah. It's weird, but when like to think, like 5 years ago, if Louis C.K. came out with a new special, you would know about it. And I heard about that like a month ago, maybe, but there's zero promotion for it anywhere. Like you don't see anyone posting like on social media about it.
It's on his website, and I think he has like an email list that he sent it out to, and it was kind of word of mouth. I don't know that he doesn't promote it entirely. I know Gnome at the Cellar, before all this happened, like last year, he told me that Louis was in France doing these like big theater shows in France, selling out, getting like standing ovations and stuff like that. And I mean, France is the place, if you get canceled and you're rich, you should go to, according to Ghislaine Maxwell, Louis C.K., and Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
Like France is the hot spot. Yeah. I honestly like I sound like I'm in a trajectory of being canceled, which I hope someday I am, because that means I'm famous enough to get canceled. But I would love to live in France before I die. I really want to my wife wants to retire to North Carolina. I want to retire to like France and live there for a while. Like, and not in Paris, but like a small like mountain town where I'm not that far from town. Like I can ride my bike into town and then I can hike around. I don't want a car. I don't want, I'll have a phone, but no computer. Like just real sort of rustic living. I'm going to North Carolina in August, and I think I'm going to turn off my phone entirely. Like just not even have it for music or anything for a week. Yeah. Just like, when else am I going to be able to do this? Anytime I've gone on vacation, I went to Hawaii, and I was trying to stay off social media to promote comedy or be involved in the latest controversies and or joke structures, and I couldn't do it, and it was depressing. It was like depressing as shit. You got to live a life as a real
I've only
person.
attempted that once. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even famous, so it's like for me, it's kind of like a double negative, because I'm spending my vacation looking for dumb ways to make myself relevant in some capacity, and it's like I could I enjoyed my vacation, honestly. It was only a few times that I really felt like really shitty. I was still drinking then. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Even though, like, if you look at my face right now, I have drinking face. My face is so puffy. I celebrated 18 months of no alcohol recently.
Oh, wow.
And
congrats.
Yeah, it's fucking great. Thank you. And I sleep. We've been in quarantine for 4 months. I've gotten the most amount of sleep I've gotten in the last 4 months. I've gotten in the previous like
I'm so
12
grateful
years.
that I don't drink during this pandemic.
Yeah. One of my friends, Matt Ott, who directed The Alley on Amazon Prime, buddy of mine, he quit drinking during the pandemic because during quarantine, because it's like, it sucks enough as it is. It sucks even more waking up hungover.
Yeah. Fuck that. Especially if you get sick and then you get hungover. It's just a fucking nightmare. Don't want to live.
And you're screwing your immune system up. And honestly, I thought about it. I was like, well, if there's ever a time where I should, because I wasn't the type of drinker where I get drunk and like, you never saw me throwing glasses at QED or like setting fires and Let Love In. I miss going to Let Love In. If I could go into Let Love In late at night and have a cup of coffee with all my friends, I would. I just drink soda, which I got to quit drinking soda, but I would do that. But I did quit drinking soda. I got to quit drinking soda when normal life returns. I would love to do that, but like it's just not an option, unfortunately, right now. But it's also hard to do when you're sober. I don't. It was just the hangovers that were killing me. I would just be so hungover that like the next day I wouldn't want to go to work. I'd be mad at work.
I know,
people would come up and ask me for stuff.
Think you and I probably had like a very similar drinking problem in that like you would have like one or two drinks every time you went out, but that became like the norm. And so you had to kind of cut back just to not become a full-blown alcoholic.
Right. Yeah. Also, to the money aspect of it as well. It's like even in comedy, because I would get free drinks. Free drinks are never free. Because if you get a beer, I always tip. Or I mean, like I try to is if like 90% of the time, I usually try to keep cash on me, give a couple bucks. So even if I drink a free beer, right? And then usually it's like you don't just have one. So then you have another. So that's another $7 to $10 that you're throwing down. So I'm spending $13 a day. Now I'm taking a late train home. I'm on the train for an hour. I'm hungry. Bodega's open. I'm gonna get a fucking turkey sandwich with chips and a soda and a carrot cake. And now I'm down another $15. I'm spending $30 a day just drinking. And
I know so many like late night diner meals that I've just had to spend like, they'll drop like $25 in one night.
Well, that's the thing too, is like it's not as if and that's usually my second meal out. I've already spent money earlier in the night on probably a coffee. I probably went to Starbucks and got a fucking $5 nitro. And then I probably grabbed a Cliff. Well, and when I was drinking, I would just grab food because I'm like, I was eating way more. So I already probably grabbed like a sandwich. I went to a diner with somebody, and then I went out and did shows, and then I got drunk, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have more fucking food. And so it just like I have so much more money now. It's insane. And I mean, when the first few years my wife and I together, she was just like, she'd hound me for money here and there, and now I just throw money at her left and right. Like, you need money for what? Here it is. Here's more money. And it's not I'll lavish her with bullshit or whatever. She shouldn't ask for it, but it's like needed stuff,
Yeah.
So there's that upside to it as well. But I'm still fat. And I mean, I've lost some weight during Corona because I've been working out. I do a lot of kettlebells and everything. And last couple of weeks has been kind of tough because my wife and I moved, and then I've been working a shit ton again. And then also trying to do like this sort of bullshit and writing scripts and stuff like that. So like I've just been busy, but I'm trying to get back in the groove of it because I still look terrible. I look my age. My goal is to come out of Corona. This is a bad camera though. Like I should have spent more time looking up how to put the fucking camera into the computer so I don't look like such a hot piece of garbage.
We could figure out how to give you a cool green screen too.
Yeah, just like Wayne's World,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways. All right. Well, this has been fun. This has been a great hang, I'd say.
Yeah, totally.
I've got 15 text messages.
Should we have like a rating system at the end where we decide if it was a great hang or a bad hang?
It's always a great hang if I'm here. I mean, this is really just an excuse for me to bitch for an hour.
I love it. Great.
But I think that I'll be interested to hear what other people think. So if you actually watch this whole thing and you enjoyed it or you didn't enjoy it, I will take a comment. Like if it's bad and it's constructive criticism, I'll absolutely listen to it. If you're listening to the podcast version, I'm at derek.o.humphrey@gmail.com. I will take your direct criticism. I'm on at Derek Humphrey on Venmo. I will take your direct deposits as well. So if you want to, if you thought it was a really good app, you could compensate myself and Chris as well. Someday, if I'm ever, I love that I gotten into the ground floor of podcasting, and YouTubing of all fucking things. Like I'm gonna have a Patreon that's gonna garner $3 a month or something because that's the only way that anybody's gonna have like any measure of currency in society anymore is we all don't even have jobs. We just have Patreons. And direct fucking it's going to be direct exchange like that. They're going to try, especially the more and more fucking individual small business taxes and stuff that they levy between people while also tossing, Boeing and GM trillions of dollars. It's like, fuck off. We're not going to report our money to you. Why would we? You're just
Yeah.
gonna take it and give it to rich people, you know?
Oh man, we started watching Ozark. Shit is
Oh.
insane.
Yeah, it's great. We'll have to talk about that in the Slack. We have a Slack going. Anyways, all right, let's get out of here. It's been a great hang.
All right.
No?
Talk to you later.
You're supposed to be like, yeah.
No, it's the delay. I can't. It's hard to time my responses to you, knowing that you're
I know.
have to respond seconds after me.
It's okay. We're gonna get this worked out. So
yeah,
it's been a lot of fun though. I hope you listened, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. For Chris Gersbeck, I am Derek Humphrey. Keep it